Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use starts now. I'm Sam Bushman. I've got Dr. Scott Bradley with me, freedomsrisingsun.com. We're going to talk about the Q&A on the Constitution and more every week that Dr. Scott Bradley conducts, and the information that the citizens, we the people, brought to the table for discussion. We'll do all that as the broadcast unfolds. It is a fantastic, freedom-loving, faith-filled, we're taking America back, one heart, one mind, one issue at a time Friday. And I've got an exclusive to kick this off. You know, Trump has been saying for weeks now, it's only a couple of days, it's going to be a month since the war started, right? The unconstitutional war. Anyway, he told you that, hey, man, on the first days we just decimated them. They don't have anything left. They're just melting down. And now he's running around saying they're begging for a deal, and they want a deal so bad, but they're afraid to say it because they're afraid of their own people and all this kind of stuff. But the truth is, this is an exclusive from Reuters. Now, I don't know if you want to believe Reuters or Donald Trump, but somebody's lying. Trump says they're decimated. They can't even hardly, their leadership's gone. They're in disarray. They don't have any capabilities left. But here's what the exclusive headline from Reuters.com says. The U.S. can only confirm that about 1/3 of Iran's missiles and their arsenal is destroyed. Only about 1/3 of it, which means they've got 2/3 left, and that's the best we can assess. Now, Reuters must be pretty confident in this because the headline says that it's an exclusive, which means they want all the credit for revealing what they believe to be the facts. Now, who's right? Donald? Marco Rubio and company? Your government? Or Reuters? I don't even know. But I know this. I don't think I can trust either of them. The bottom line, though, is, hey, if Reuters is running around saying we've only destroyed and confirmed about 1/3 of it, Trump's saying it's decimated entirely, what gives with that? Very interesting when we talk about fake news peddling fake news, and Trump's really mad at the networks for fake news, and what's the real truth? Trump then says, well, hey, we're talking. And they want to give up so bad it's not even funny. And then the Iranians go, we're not talking. What are you talking about? And then other countries are going, yeah, we're brokering a couple of messages being passed back and forth. It's like we can't even get the facts. Dr. Bradley, break your thoughts down on that one for me, sir. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Sam. I'll tell you, there's an old adage that the first casualty of war is truth. And the state players that are involved in these things are very, very, very willing, let's put it that way, to spin the story any way that keeps them looking like they're on top, the top dog. And actually, literally, the truth is very often found in some other place, and oftentimes...
You're right about that. And the second casualty of war usually is nothing is official until it's been denied.
That's correct. Or it's been told to be truthful by Trump, let's say, then we can be pretty well assured that it's questionable. I mean, we have so many lies, and more darn lies being told. And, the Nazi propagandist, Joseph Goebbels, said you tell a big enough lie long enough and it becomes truth. And I think that, I'll ask your listeners, and you too, Sam, you guys can think about it. I don't know as I want to give you an answer. I think I know what my answer is. But if you have been lied to from the John Kennedy assassination, the Robert Kennedy assassination, the Tonkin Gulf, the 9/11 stuff, the weapons of mass destruction in Saddam Hussein's
Oklahoma City bombing, we can keep going.
The COVID con, if you recognize now that you were lied to on all of these big institutional propagandized kinds of things, what makes you think you can take to the bank anything that's being said now? And we've got to be realistic. Reagan used to say, trust but verify. My adage is distrust until verified. And I use multiple sources across the world when I'm out looking at news feeds and everything else like that. Yeah, there's plenty of crap out there.
We've been lied to plenty, folks, and I can't even determine if they're really talking. Iran says they're not. Trump says they are. Trump says they've been decimated. The Reuters say, hey, we've We can only confirm about a third of it. Are we even talking? That's debatable, too. If third world countries are saying, yeah, we brokered a couple of messages back and forth, well, that doesn't mean they're really talking just because you managed to get a third party to deliver a message on your behalf. So is Iran telling the truth and Trump not, or are they really talking? And where and who and when? And we don't know. We don't have any evidence for any of that. But listen to this. The Joe Kent resignation is really important to discuss, and I'll tell you why. Because when we wrap this up with the lies, and more darn lies, Joe Kent now, not only has he resigned, which we'll talk about in just a second, but Joe Kent says that FBI Director Kash Patel blocked, you heard me, blocked further investigation into the Charlie Kirk murder case. Yeah, yournews.com, former director of the National National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, said that FBI Director Kash Patel said, hey, you've got to stop working on the Charlie Kirk deal. We're not working on it anymore. And so it's an interview with the Daily Callers, and Kent basically said that, hey, federal authorities are curtailing him and his investigative efforts, pointing to a top-down decision that halted, quote, further inquiry. He said the FBI imposed the restriction following direct orders from Kash Patel. Then so the interviewer says, you said that you were stopped from investigating this thing? Absolutely, literally stopped? The chief editor for Daily Caller, Amber Duke, is the one asking the questions to Duke. And Duke said, did that come specifically from Director Patel? Yes. It did. It was part of a discussion that he and I had personally. It was a back and forth discussion. And then ultimately, that was the decision that was made, Kent said. Now, that's serious, folks. Why would Kash Patel stop the investigation into the Charlie Kirk murder investigation? Now, this, in my opinion, is the hardest evidence we have now that something is wrong with this. Now, we've got a lot of other questionable details and concerning issues and da-da-da-da-da-da. But this, in my opinion, is the hardest evidence. And now, when you talk about Kent's resign, you kind of start to go, I can see. Dan Bongino leaves, and you go, I can see. Doctor?
Okay, I didn't hear this specific interview that you're just talking about, but I did hear another interview that essentially gave the same information in a somewhat, shall I say, expanded version. And so I heard the interview personally with my own ears. His lips were moving. I mean, okay, so this kind of stuff, and people might say, well, why would a counterterrorism organization like what Kent was leading have anything to do with something that went on in Orem, Utah, with the something on a college campus? And there's much more to this. There's lots more fire, I think. I don't think it's just smoke. I think there's fire involved. And Joe said literally that there were very numerous strings that needed to be pulled on, that's what I'll call them, in regards to questionable things that needed to be addressed if they were going to eliminate the possibility, or I'll call it the probability, of foreign actors being involved in this thing that could be related to terrorist-type activities from some official capacity. And he was told, cease and desist, shut it up, fold it up, lock it up, be done with it, boy, and walk away. And he said there was numerous things that still had very viable and probable reasons that they needed further investigation by an organization like his counterterrorism organization. It was a very powerful statement he made. He's a spook. I mean, he's CIA kind of background and stuff. He knows what's classified and what's not. It all came across his desk. He had to be careful in his words to make certain that he did not expose any classified information specifically, but he was very adamant, mentioned numerous times the importance of continuing to pursue some of these things that looked very viable, and he was stopped.
Literally shut down. And the problem that I have with this is I agree that he's being very careful. He knows what he's talking about, but at the same time with this classified stuff, I agree that it's very difficult when you get these in the civilian world. We call them NDAs, and so non-disclosure agreements and stuff, or these classified details or whatever. I get that he can't speak and talk, but that's part of the problem too, is these people get shut up to where they can't really even expose a lot of the things that are happening. Whenever they want to hide something, all they do is they say, oh, that's classified, so you can't talk about it. Now, I agree there should be classified certain things, but I think they drive a truck through that window, or that, hole, so to speak. It's a big, big problem. We'll get to that in seconds. We're talking to Dr. Scott Bradley, freedomsrisingsun.com.
As the United States boldly stepped forward in the glorious light provided by its new Constitution in 1787, the nations of the earth were in awe of the newfound strength and hope of this free land. Today, the nation stands at a crossroads. A divergence from the original intent put forth in the United States Constitution has brought grave threats to our beloved nation. A miracle is needed if the United States is to survive. That miracle is again the pure application of the United States Constitution. I'm Scott Bradley. In my To Preserve the Nation book and lecture series, I bring forth truths that will help raise up a new generation of statesmen like those noble Americans who founded this land. Vigorous application of these principles will invigorate and restore the nation, and we may become again the freest, most prosperous, most respected, and happiest nation on earth. Visit topreservethenation.com to begin that restoration.
As you are aware, America is divided over every fault line possible. This is intentionally fostered by those who do not love God, family, or country. We believe a peaceful future as a free people absolutely depends on civility. Clarion Call for Civility is looking for funding and volunteers at every level to make our hopes and efforts a reality. Please donate, sign our pledge, and help us in our sacred cause. Please visit callforcivility.com for more details. Callforcivility.com.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
All right, it's Sam Bushman and Dr. Scott Bradley. Q&As on the Constitution every week, Thursday nights. Check them out. freedomsrisingsun.com to get your ticket to ride. Exclusive, the U.S. can only confirm about a third of Iran's missile arsenal is destroyed. That's Reuters with an exclusive. Trump says it's absolutely decimated. Trump says they're talking. The Iranians say they're not. Who do you believe? Joe Kent's resignation relates to this. He says, I just can't believe we're in a war. It's unconstitutional. MAGA and others mocking him, but MAGA's fractured over this very issue. And now we really got to ask ourselves some questions about the Joe Kent resignation thing. What gives with all that? Because now we're finding out this idea that, hey, man, Joe Kent's saying, we tried to look into the Charlie Kirk murder stuff, and we got shut down by Kash Patel, of all people. And you got to kind of go, okay, well, wait a minute. Was the first salvo of the war the murder of Charlie Kirk? Is that why Trump says he's got to get after it and do something and stuff? Very strange stuff, Doctor. But I'm saying whenever they want you to be stonewalled, all they do is call everything classified. I get that there's some need for some classified stuff, but they're driving a truck through this, sir.
Well, I, years ago, lived in that world. I don't think I'm any hero of anything by any means, but I worked an awful lot in some of the national security kinds of things. I was Department of Defense. This was after military service. I was in the Department of Defense contractor mode. But at any rate, you're absolutely right. A very, 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 very high percentage of so-called classified information is just basically they don't want to even have anybody have any knowledge of it. And And you look at what happened with Snowden and with Assange, and basically they were exposing.
They were truth tellers that got slaughtered.
Well, I'm telling you, the stuff that was being classified and was being withheld. You look at Daniel Ellsberg back in the Vietnam papers. People hide stuff, and it's stuff that is totally detrimental to our national survival even. They're not protecting our national survival. They're protecting us from being able to stop them from violating their constitutional oath of office.
And to some degree, it's national suicide, really, on a security point of view, at least. And so this is a serious, serious problem indeed, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't know really how to handle it, except for I think Joe Kent, I don't think he's perfect. I don't think we can trust him 100%. But I do think he's a truth teller on a lot of things. And the question is, how much trouble will he end up in, and what's really going to happen? But this interview was with the Daily Caller. That's Tucker Carlson's organization, the Daily Caller, just so people know. And Tucker's being attacked and everything else, too. And so it's very, very interesting. Are we really going to sacrifice our people in Iran with boots on the ground, Doctor? I sadly think we are. Now Trump's talking about bringing 10,000 more in. He's toying with the idea, is what the mainstream press says.
A lot of people think, oh my heck, look what we did to Iraq, and look what we did to Maduro in Venezuela and everything. This is not those environments. We have this morning, that one of the reports I read this morning had Iran touting the fact that they had 1 million boots on the ground to throw against U.S. troops. The young people are rallying, they say, to push this great Satan off their shores if we land. This could really go upside down and backwards. And we got imbecilic, empty suits like, what's his name? Lindsey Graham saying, well, we took Iwo Jima, we can do this one. That is blown up on him.
And Lindsey Graham really hanging out with Benjamin Netanyahu and urging and pushing for war, even though he's a member of Congress and knows full well that they don't have authority to go to war without Congress. And so this guy, in my opinion, should be put in jail because of his criminal activity. He's sworn an oath to the Constitution and to obey it. He's a leader in Congress, should be holding the line on the Constitution, but yet he's not only violating with the Constitution by going to war, but he's pushing foreign leaders in that direction too. I don't know if Lindsey's pushing Benjamin or Benjamin's pushing Lindsey, but it seems like a destruction effort made in heaven or hell, whatever you want to call it. But I'm just saying it's insane, Doctor.
Well, there's a very old act that was passed called the Logan Act. And it has to do with people in official capacities performing interactions with foreign powers. And there's a case to be made, I believe, that Lindsey Graham has been in violation of the Logan Act, and so have many of the members of Congress that have been taken to Israel on these big, party animal kind of things where they get, propagandized in favor of the modern state of Israel. But Lindsey Graham is a special case. I mean, to think that we sacrificed, there was nearly 7,000 Marines killed in Iwo Jima. There was nearly 20,000. There were just a few shy of both those numbers wounded. We had 27,000 casualties on Iwo Jima. And here's Lindsey Graham, a guy that has nobody to sacrifice except for his own whims. And he's touting this as the great, we can do this again kind of thing. People don't really understand that the southern shoreline, if you will, of Iran is 500 miles long. It's not just Karg Island, which is a little spit of an island that's out in the Hormuz Strait. 500 miles, Sam, that's between Salt Lake and Denver, if anybody's ever driven that. And it's rugged terrain. There's millions of people that live along that spit of land. Well, not the spit, the shoreline. And, in every single garage, they could have a speedboat with explosives loaded on it. They could have Stinger missiles to shoot down, shoulder-fired missiles to shoot down aircraft like helicopters.
Well, they could even have that on the 2,000-mile-long U.S.-Mexico border, for that matter, too. And we don't know any of those things either. Tom Holman even said we have no idea where these people that have crossed the border that have illegal or criminal intent are. We have no idea where they are. So, folks, this is disastrous. And now we're going to have Trump and company begging Congress for $200 billion more as a war supplement. That's on top of the $1 trillion they already got this year, and they're pushing for $1.5 trillion in 2007 as well. I mean, we are spinning ourselves into oblivion because we know this war's not over. Trump was saying, I'm toying with saying we're done with this thing. No, he's not. We're not even close. We've only confirmed we've destroyed a third of their missiles at best, and now we're basically saying we're in talks. Then they say, no, we're not, and then we're putting 10,000 more troops over there. I don't see how this is being ratcheted down. Every indication is that it's ratcheting up to colossal efforts on our end. And to what end, I still don't know, Doctor.
Well, here's the deal. Trump lied. I don't know what else to put it, but he said no new war. This is what he ran on. No new wars, no regime changes, he's going to reduce inflation, he was going to lower prices, he's going to put America first. And every single one of those things has been sacrificed.
Now they say because of the war, they thought they had inflation under control. Now because of the war, it's already going to be considered 4.2% and probably more, depending on the details of how long this all lasts and how long they can lock down the Strait of Hormuz and all this kind of stuff. And so that alone is going to be a big problem for the American people. Now Trump's ratings, some are saying they're the lowest ever. You know, it's hard for me to trust the polls, too. Again, it's hard for me to really know even what's coming out of all these different places, what the truth is and what the error is. But I know this. When Joe Kent resigns, and he literally says they're stopping us from looking into the Charlie Kirk thing, and this war's disaster, I can't go along with it. And Trump says, you're a buffoon, you're not MAGA. And then we want $200 billion more on top of $1 trillion. I kind of go, what on earth is going on? You know, it reminds me of this highly functioning narcissistic dementia stuff going on. I mean, is that what we're dealing with? You guys talked about that last night too, right?
Well, I almost didn't do that question. I'll tell you, I'll give you the exact question because I think that it's really pointed, and we may need to. Well, anyway,
I think it's something that you got to really honestly ask, though. I whoever brought this question to your attention, again, this is where the public gets their chance to say something, Dr. Bradley. And I understand that we need to be delicate with this a little bit, but at the same time, people are wondering these things, aren't they?
Well, absolutely. I mean, so it kind of leaps off, and then I'll give you the question, and then we maybe probably got to go to the news, I'm guessing. But it basically boils down to if Joe Biden had this dementia-type disease that was diminishing his cognitive abilities, is there another type that elicits some kind of grandiose expressions of power? It wasn't very specific in naming names, but here's the question. Is there a special kind of high-functioning narcissistic dementia that deceives people into thinking that one is in full control of their faculties and yet leads to the conclusion of the emperor having no clothes? And like I say, I
think the question's a good one. Whether it's dementia, though, I kind of hesitate on that word because I don't know if dementia is part of it. But there certainly is psychiatric discussions about people believing that they're more grandiose or everything relates to them and whatever they do, everybody's watching them, everybody's concerned with everything they do that's way out of proportion with reality. That there are truths, that there are those kind of behavioral, what's the word I should use here? Behavioral, misguided beliefs, and whether it's dementia or whether it's delusions or whether it's grandiose feelings, I don't know how to describe it from a psychological point of view. But this is a real question, and it really baits the real question. Hey, is that happening now with modern day presidents? Let's forget names for a second. With modern day presidents? And I think the answer is a resounding yes to answer the question, Doctor.
Well, and maybe when we get back, we can kind of chew this a little bit.
You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Liberty Roundtable Live. Others don't want to talk about these topics. I wish we didn't have to talk about these topics. But I'm telling you, those are honest, fair questions. and something to really think about. When Trump says we decimated them, and Reuters says, hey, we got an exclusive, we can only confirm about a third. Trump says we're in talks. Iranians say no, we're not. And then Joe Kent resigns and says, hey, man, I can't even find out what happened to Charlie Kirk. What on earth is happening? Liberty Roundtable Live.